put a shark in a tank, sold a diamond-encrusted skull for £50 million, and once filled a gallery with 9,000 live butterflies. Damien Hirst has been called a genius, a fraud, a provocateur, a millionaire showman, but no matter how you feel about him, one thing's certain, you can't ignore him. This is the story of Damien Hirst, the enfant terrible of British art. It's Laura here again, welcome back to the channel, and let's get into it. Damien Hirst was born in Bristol in 1965 and raised in Leeds by a single mother. As a teenager, he was obsessed with death, sketching cadavers from pathology, books, and growing fascinated with what happens after we die. That fixation would never leave him. In the 1980s, he moved to London to study at Goldsmith College. It was a radical art school where traditional techniques were less important than bold ideas. And it's where Hirst's conceptual approach truly began to take shape. In 1988, while still a student, Hirst curated an independent exhibition called Freeze. In a disused Docklands warehouse, it was raw, ambitious, and bursting with energy. The show featured work by Hirst and his classmates, a group who would later become known as the Young British Artists, or YBAs. They were provocative, brash, and media savvy, producing art that was often more about concept and shock than traditional beauty. Artists like Sarah Lucas, Tracy Emin, Mark Quinn, and Gary Hume were part of this generation, united not by a single style, but by their rebellious attitude and willingness to blur the lines between art, pop culture, and celebrity. In this first iteration of Freeze, Hirst included 2 of his spot paintings, which he painted directly onto the gallery walls. These early works were simple but striking, rows of multicolored dots on white backgrounds. He wanted them to look as if they were made by a machine, but with the subtle imperfection of the artist's hand. Over time, the spot paintings become a major series, with over 1,000 produced since 1986. Each spot is precisely painted in glossy household paint, spaced just far enough apart that no colour repeats within a painting. They're visually clean, almost pharmaceutical, which makes sense as many are named after chemical compounds and drugs. Like much of Hirst's work, they walk a fine line, soothing yet sterile, orderly yet disorienting, calming and unnerving, beautiful and banal. In 2012, Mega Gallery Gagosian staged an unprecedented global exhibition showing more than 300 spot paintings simultaneously across all 11 of its gallery spaces worldwide. Back in 1988, Freeze caught the attention of advertising mogul and art collector Charles Saatchi. He quickly became one of Hirst's biggest champions, offering financial support and helping to launch his career. In 1991, with Saatchi's backing, Hirst unveiled the piece that would change everything: The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living. Hirst's most infamous work, The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living, 1991, features a 14-foot tiger shark suspended in formaldehyde, encased in a glass vitrine. More than just a preserved animal, the shark becomes a symbol, a looming, silent reminder of mortality. Its stillness feels unnatural, yet eerily alive. Viewers are forced into a confrontation. The cold, clinical setting mimics a lab or morgue, but the emotional impact is raw. The sheer scale of the piece makes it feel like you're facing death head on. The title itself is almost the work's thesis. Hirst suggests that we can't truly comprehend our own non-existence. Like much of his work, it's both conceptually rich and visually immediate. By presenting death in a preserved, aestheticized form, he strips it of sentiment and forces us to reckon with its presence. It's a spectacle, yes, but also philosophy in a tank. The piece gripped the public imagination and split opinion. Some saw brilliance, others saw a dead fish in a box. But either way, Hirst made his mark. The Shark Tank wasn't a one-off. It became the beginning of Hirst's signature style. Glass vitrines filled with preserved animals. Death was his main subject. There were cows and sheep split in half and displayed in formaldehyde, installations with live maggots, flies buzzing around severed animal heads. To Hirst, these were modern-day memento mori, reminders of mortality, decay, and the fragile line between life and death. He was following in the footsteps of Marcel Duchamp, the French artist who turned ordinary objects into art. Like Duchamp, Hirst used the ready-made, but pushed it further using real flesh and blood to confront the viewer with their own impermanence. Around the same time, Hirst developed his medicine cabinet series. These were sculptures made from shelves stocked with pharmaceutical packaging, surgical tools and medical supplies, like a clinical altar to science and salvation. Sterile, organized, yet emotional jarring. And in 1992, Pharmacy, an entire room staged like a sterile chemist's, complete with real medicine bottles still shelving in clinical lighting. Everything was immaculately staged, but underneath the gloss, it was all about our fear of death, the illusion of control, and the thin veil between life and decay. Even his titles hinted at deeper existential themes. 1,000 years, mother and child divided, the acquired inability to escape. The work dared you to look and then forced you to think. While his tanks and cabinets were about control and stillness, his spin paintings did the opposite. Created by placing canvases on a rotating platform and pouring household paint as they spun, these works exploded with colour and movement. They were wild, joyful, chaotic. Hirst described them as childish in a good sense, a way to let go, embrace chance, and create beauty through action. From the mechanical precision of the spots to the centrifugal chaos of the spins, Hirst's work constantly played with control versus randomness, life versus death, beauty versus disgust. In 2012, Hirst exhibited In and Out of Love, an installation that filled 2 rooms with over 9,000 butterflies. Visitors walked among the insects as they hatched, fluttered, and died. To some, it was a stunning metaphor for the fragility and ephemerality of life. To others, it was disturbing and exploitative. As always, Hirst forced the viewer to confront discomfort and asked what we're willing to accept in the name of beauty and art. In 1995, Hirst won the Turner Prize, one of the UK's top art honours. By now, he was everywhere, in museums, magazines, tabloids and talk shows. He wasn't just a successful artist, he was a celebrity. But success came with scrutiny. Since 1999, Hirst's work has been accused of plagiarism 16 times, including a legal case over his sculpture Him, which closely resembled a child's toy anatomy figure. The dispute ended in a quiet settlement. Still, these controversies didn't stop Hirst. If anything, they fueled his belief that art wasn't about originality, but about ideas. Like Jeff Koons, Hirst embraced the use of assistance and fabrication. He didn't shy away from spectacle or scale. He referenced minimalism in his vitrines and borrowed freely from other movements. In his word, the artist was a conductor, not necessarily the one holding the brush. Hirst made no apologies. He believed in big ideas and didn't care whether or not he made the work with his own hands. But success came with criticism. In 2008, Hirst did something no living artist had done before. He sold an entire solo show, Beautiful Inside My Head Forever, directly through Sotheby's, bypassing galleries altogether. The result? £111 million in one night, a world record for a solo artist auction. The star lot, the Golden Calf, a bull in formaldehyde with 18-carat gold horns and hooves, which sold for over £10 million. It was a mic drop moment, a clear message. Damien Hirst was the system now. The same year, tensions with Charles Saatchi finally boiled over. The relationship that helped launch Hirst's career officially ended in 2003. But by now, he didn't need a patron. He was his own brand. A year earlier, in 2007, Hirst had already stunned the art world with For the Love of God, a human skull cast in platinum encrusted with 8,601 diamonds. Cost to make? Around £14 million. Price tag? £50 million. Was it a joke? A critique of worth? A critique of wealth? A glamorized tomb? No one could agree, but it dominated headlines and once again got everyone talking. In 2015, Hirst opened his own museum, the Newport Street Gallery in London, and a space to show both his own work and pieces from his massive personal collection. It was the ultimate flex, artist, curator, architect of his own legacy. As of the Sunday Times Rich List in 2020, Hirst was the UK's richest living artist, worth an estimated $384 million. Damien Hirst doesn't care if you love him or hate him. He cares that you look, that you feel, that you think. From sharks and skulls to pills and paint splatters, he's challenged what art is, how it's made, and why we value it. And in doing so, he's become one of the most important and divisive artists of our time. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed diving into the strange, bold, and brilliant world of Damien Hirst. Let me know in the comments who you want me to cover next. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next video. See you on the next one. Bye!